Welcome to Carlos and Lisa. I'm Lisa Remillard.
And I'm Carlos Amesquitz. Nice to have you with us. All right, our travel adventure king of Phillips is going to one of my favorite places on the whole planet, Panama.
You've been?
Of course. It is a fantastic place.
Okay, I've never been.
Full of all kinds of nature and of course, the canal.
Okay, well, I can't wait to talk to her all about it. Plus, we are, of course, in the summer months. You're probably out at the pool. You're probably going to the beach. We're going to meet a doctor from San Diego who had a life lesson to tell, and now wears sunscreen and is going to explain to you why that is happening.
Oh, yes. That sounds really interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, very cool.
But we want to talk about this.
The environment.
No.
We brought our plastic bottles just from our newsroom, okay? These things are all wrapped in plastic. Bottles,
single-use
snacks,
plastics, right?
Single-use plastics, ketchup.
But it's hard to avoid these things. I mean, they're everywhere, right? And they're very convenient. We know we've been living with it for decades, obviously, but obviously it's a problem for our environment.
Ready for a stat? Okay, here we go. Every year, every American throws out an average of 185 pounds of plastic. So we did the math. That's more than 9,200 empty plastic water bottles in the trash. In the trash every year.
Let that sink in.
That's a lot.
Every human being, 9,200 plastic bottles.
Yeah, in America, in the U.S.
Where do you think that goes?
I mean, I don't know.
That goes into
landfills.
Yeah, and then
ocean.
It goes into the ocean.
Yeah.
So the problem is plastic takes, this drops all over me.
Just throw it anywhere.
Plastic takes 500 years to break down. So there's the problem. And here's what it looks like in our ocean. This is that garbage island that everybody talks about. There's several of them.
It swirls. You can't really walk on it. It's not like really an island, but I've seen divers dive into it, and the plastic is like all kinds of different things.
Well,
I mean,
in the most beautiful places,
car seats,
right?
bottles.
In the most beautiful places in the world, on the most beautiful beaches, it washes up. And it's all over the beach, and it's all in the water, and the animals, the fish, the wildlife ingests it all.
I know, it's horrible.
And of course, it comes from your plastic bottles, your plastic forks, your sandwich bag, your Ziploc baggies, all of those things.
So are we thinking about this? That's the thing. Are we thinking about what we're doing? Probably not.
Probably not. So estimates show that by 2050, there will be more plastic bottles in the ocean than there are fish.
Think about that for a second. I mean, a lot of things to think about here. Individual cities throughout our state of California, and even whole countries, are phasing out or even banning single-use plastic.
I know it's
like the straws.
Right, it's inconvenient.
The Malibu straws we're just getting paper now. There.
Right, everybody. It's annoying to a lot of people. Like, oh, these paper straws break down. I can't use them. Or my takeout committee, like my takeout containers. It's all a problem.
Yeah.
So
like San Diego, they banned them.
Well, lots of places have banned them.
Yeah, so now they're using these paper things.
Right.
Yeah.
So we wanted to introduce Mike Doshi here to talk all about single-use plastic and what it's actually doing to our environment.
He's from Algelita, and he goes by just Doshi.
Algelita.
What did I say?
Algelita.
Well, that's an Italian way of pronouncing it.
Hi, Doshi. How are you?
All right.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you both so much for having me.
So we talked a lot. And
by the way, we did practice the name of the company.
We did.
I like that Italian iteration of it. Well done.
Let's talk about what you have seen in your years with Algelita and what you have witnessed of that. You said you've seen the plastic
islands. You've been all
islands.
over the place.
Yeah. And again, thank you both so much for having me here. And Algelita, we've been focusing on plastic pollution research for over 20 years. Our founder, Captain Charles Moore, is the man who actually discovered the accumulation of our plastic pollution in what's called the North Pacific Gyre. So a lot of people know of it as Trash Island or a garbage patch, but it's actually more like a big plastic soup. So like you said, you can't actually go and walk on it, but just imagine chicken noodle soup. You're gonna have some big chunks of chicken, which might be something like your discarded fishing net that fishers throw overboard when they're done using it in the open ocean. But then a lot of it is gonna be these small plastic pieces known as microplastics. So as mentioned, plastic doesn't break down, it actually breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces over time. So it doesn't biodegrade, it does what's called photodegrade. So the UV radiation will break it down, make it super brittle, and that just breaks up into these smaller pieces over time.
What does that do to the ecosystem of the ocean? Because the smaller the pieces, you think that fish would ingest it, birds would ingest it?
Sure. So it actually is polluting the entire biosphere. So not just the ocean, but we've gotten to the point now where these plastic pieces are coming from our clothing, from our synthetic clothing. Polyester, nylon. Every time we wash these clothes, it sheds these microfibers into the waterways and into the air as well. So it's not just the ocean. We're dealing with the pollution here on land, but in regards to how it affects the wildlife, it also affects humans. So this plastic, when the animals ingest it, it does what's called bioaccumulate in their system. So it's not the plastic just building up over time in the small fish, and then the medium fish eats that, and then the bigger fish eats that one. Yeah. What's happening is these toxic chemicals that are attached to the plastics that soak into the plastics when they're out in the ocean from DDT or other pesticides or oil spills that are out there. That's what bioaccumulates in the fish, and then eventually works its way up to the food chain to us when we eat those animals.
Wow.
Okay, so in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, as you're speaking, how can I stop all of that from happening to myself and the environment? And then I become stressed out because it's like you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it.
Sure.
So my question is, how do you avoid it?
Well,
what can you do?
The people who are watching this right now, they've taken the first step. They're becoming aware of the issue.
Yeah.
So step one is become aware of it, and then step two is kind of do a self-plastic audit of what you have going on in your daily life. What are the single-use plastic options that you can replace with a reusable? So it's super easy. You showed water bottles.
Okay, I was going to say, so we have this, and what's your option?
A lot of people go to a reusable water bottle. Okay. I've been using this for many years. You can see I put some of my favorite stickers on it to make it look attracting to other people. So water bottles is an easy way to go.
How about this?
Oh, yeah.
So alternative to this?
I carry around a single-use utensil replacement with bamboo utensils.
You carry that in your pocket?
Goes in my pocket. Keep one in my car as well, so I can take it everywhere with me.
I've actually seen those in stores. Yeah.
And this right here isn't just helping with your plastic usage, but when people see you using this, it helps to spread awareness to them as well. So I like to think anybody that uses a reusable water bottle or makes the effort to use utensils like this, they're a part of the plastic pollution prevention movement. So
let me ask you this. We're an enlightened society here. We would like to think so in the United States. But there's some real offenders out there on the planet that aren't doing as much as we're even trying to do. As little as we're doing, they're doing even less and polluting our oceans more.
Sure. So it's an interesting paradigm that we have, because a lot of the plastics that we put into the recycling bin here in the US get shipped to other countries that are still developing, that have fewer environmental controls than what we have here in the States.
Kidding.
So a lot of the plastic pollution that's entering the environment from these other countries is actually starting domestically in our recycling bins here in the US, the UK, Australia, and Canada. So the reduction of single-use plastics in your daily life is a really good step, but being aware of what's the reality and going on in the world, and then what you can do in your local area in regards to legislation, local ordinances, as you two were mentioning, such as the straw ban in Malibu or single-use plastics ban in local LA County areas, but also on a state level, we're seeing some really big movements as well.
Yeah, the state legislature is doing the best they can to move this stuff forward and to try and help reduce the amount by banning of the single-use plastic. So, but does it make a dent? I guess my question is does my use of one of those cardboard straws that are so annoying and break down, is that really helping?
So I will tell you this. I think changing habits is a great start, but straws, for example, are just a drop in the bucket. We got to think about the single-use food packaging that we're using, because it's not just straws and water bottles and ketchup packets. It's the chip bags, it's the granola bar wrappers, it's the plastic that comes around in your Amazon purchases and your Amazon packaging, even the Amazon package that's sent to you. These are all single-use plastic items that are very, very hard to change the systems around. So it's not the individual usage and individual habits. This is a societal issue, and the systems are not set up to help us fix this issue currently.
So I discovered this when my daughter came home and said and started cutting the six-pack holders from cans and saying, I don't want the dolphins to get this stuck in there. And that was our beginning of recycling. And then I also went to Patagonia, a company that's very sustainable, and they work, and in fact I'm wearing these bright pink socks. They're recycled material.
They look great.
So these are bright pink socks that are emblematic of kind of the dramatic nature in which some companies are taking to make sure that single-use plastics don't really invade our environment?
Sure. So items, that's a big thing that's going on in the consumer marketplace right now, is items that are being made from recycled material. Now, one thing to really pay attention with that, as I mentioned before, these synthetic fibers that are used to make the clothing that we wear, and even carpets, every time we use those, it's creating wear and tear on those fibers, which are shedding those microfibers. So even though those socks are made from recycled material, those are also still contributing to plastic pollution in the environment.
So don't get on your high horse.
So what I'm getting at
I got a
is,
very small horse.
what I'm getting at is I think it's great you're paying attention to that, but I really want consumers and the general public to be aware of things that we call greenwashing, which is sometimes companies selling things
that's interesting.
by using the guise of environmentally friendly or made from recycled products to make the consumer feel okay about making the purchase. And Patagonia is a great company. They've been making major strides, and they've been really helpful in the fight against plastic pollution in a lot of ways, but even their fleeces, they've had to make some changes to them from shedding fibers. So it's a learning curve right now for a lot of large corporations, and some of them are really starting to step their game up, but a lot more need to as well.
Doshi, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And
Great to have you here.
It's like you have to turn the Titanic around.
Yeah, well,
I mean, because
and we're hoping all of you out there
forever.
watching us really pay attention to this and do your part to help our environment, because we all live here and take care of this earth. Thanks so much,
Thank
Doshi.
you.